Minister, the west coast of Ireland has significant potential for the development of renewable energy, particularly in the area of both wind and wave energy. Now, I want to know what engagement is taking place between Government and Enterprise Ireland with regard to establishing a national renewable energy business accelerator programme to support Irish entrepreneurs and businesses in capitalising on the potential and creating jobs in every single community across the western half of this country.
Minister.
Thanks. Could I first of all just say I look forward to working with all members of this House in this new brief, and obviously with two other ministers in the department as well. As we've heard, Mr. Richmond is taking over the department in terms of responding to questions this morning. I'm glad you asked this question, Deputy. My department, together with Enterprise Ireland, are actively engaged in building the capacity of the indigenous sector for supply chain opportunities in the green energy and renewables sector. With the support of my department, Enterprise Ireland's new sustainability department is examining the key emerging areas of opportunity in these sectors and how best to develop Ireland's renewable energy sector on a basis of competitive advantage, including through the mechanism of business accelerators and/or incubator programmes. The offshore wind industry, for example, has a significant regional employment potential, and this is being exploited through the development of 9 regional enterprise plans. The delivery of smart grid management systems, offshore wind energy and hydrogen for national industry development and international markets is currently being explored as well, as you will know only too well. In the medium and long term, Ireland will have excess renewable energy capability, and Enterprise Ireland should ensure domestic value-added opportunities are fully captured alongside energy exports. Hydrogen and decarbonised gas and stimulating domestic biomethane production should also be a critical component of Ireland's energy ecosystem and decarbonisation pathway. Building on the complementing and recently published white paper on enterprise, my department is assessing how Ireland's enterprise sector, both indigenous and FDI, will support the development of Ireland's ambitions to deliver an offshore wind generation sector of significant scale. Part of that consideration will be how to capture the industrial development opportunities that would arise both in terms of exports and in developing appropriate supply chain strategies from co-locating renewable energy infrastructure, transport infrastructure and industrial energy demand, and building clusters of economic activity in that regard. This is in accordance with the framework for enterprise policy for the period to 2030, as outlined in the white paper, which, as you know, was only launched in December. And it's expected that actions aimed at developing indigenous supply chains capacity will be an integral part of these initiatives.
Thanks, Minister.
Thanks very much, Minister. Now, Minister, a study commissioned by the Irish Wind Energy Association in 2020 estimates that the development of just 3 gigawatts of offshore wind energy off the west coast of Ireland, about 4% of our actual energy potential off our coast, could create 2,500 jobs during the construction phase and a further 600 permanent jobs once the wind farms are in operation. And the study also estimated that the development of the offshore wind energy sector could contribute €1.7 billion a year to the Irish economy. Now, Minister, the difficulty is that Enterprise Ireland is primarily focused on helping Irish SMEs to bring about the capability in terms of exporting, not looking at the potential that we have here. And when they do look at it here, they're only focusing on high potential start-ups rather than the indigenous potential that is there already. Now, Minister, I know your commitment to this, I know your interest in this, and I'm asking you to take a special focus in relation to this particular area. Thank you.
Minister.
Look, thanks, Deputy. I think that that many people are only beginning to realise the scale of what is being proposed here. You know, we currently have about 28 gigawatts of projects at various different stages of proposals and planning and funding. In capital terms, that's about €80 billion worth of expenditure, as you'll know. The estimate by 2050 if we can realise that kind of potential offshore, which of course is many multiples of what Ireland's energy grid actually uses, is that about 5,000 people will have been employed in the creation and building of that sector, as well as billions of euros of investment and many permanent jobs in terms of the maintenance and management of those offshore grid systems effectively, and huge pieces of infrastructure that need to be constructed onshore to be taken offshore, both fixed and floating. So this is an energy revolution that we're talking about that is going to change the Irish economy, and it's going to change how we sell Ireland as a place for international business to the rest of the world. And there will be huge opportunities for indigenous Irish companies in that space. And we do have a specific unit now in Enterprise Ireland specifically focusing on renewable energy. They're contributing, for example, to the Shannon Estuary Task Force. And other discussions that are taking place now in terms of practical terms around how we can ensure that Irish indigenous companies grow and expand to meet this potential.
Minister, as you know well, when everyone is in charge, no one is in charge, and this is a cross-government issue. Now, Minister, I know your personal commitment in relation to this, and I'm asking you to take ownership of a leadership role in relation to this, because we do need to see investment in key infrastructure that will serve as the pillar to support the Gale offshore wind network, to anchor additional foreign direct investment coming in here. One of those areas, as you know, is in the whole area of our ports. We do not have the capacity in any of our ports in this country to actually construct these turbines today. We also have an Irish indigenous company, Supernode, that wants to develop a network right across Europe, a transmission network, to export the wind energy that we're generating off our Atlantic coast directly into the European grid, as well as bringing southern European solar energy into the European grid. And we need to support that organisation, that company, in delivering on that objective to benefit every single citizen in the state.
Thanks, Deputy Minister. Final reply.
Yeah, I just want to reassure you, we're not missing this, right? I mean, and even in the white paper, just to quote it, it says the scale of our offshore wind potential, when coupled with hydrogen production, offers a once-in-a-century industrial development opportunity, as well as a high-value export capability. So, yes, my department, as the Department of Enterprise and Trade and Employment, needs to be central to this planning. We are part of the Offshore Wind Energy Task Force, which is chaired by Minister Ryan. We have a specific responsibility on that task force in relation to supply chain issues. And obviously our agencies are very much part of that discussion. So this is in development, Deputy. I think it's important to say that. We don't have this right yet, but there's a huge amount of effort and time being put into ensuring that we have a cross-government response to this potential. In many ways, we're in a race here against time, because other countries are doing the same. In particular, Scotland and Portugal are well ahead of where Ireland is in relation to offshore wind at the moment. France are also developing at pace, as are other EU countries. So Ireland needs to ensure that the state element of this, in terms of state agencies, government departments and ministers, are putting the necessary regulatory environment and policy environment and funding environment in place to allow the private sector to invest what is a wall of investment capital in this sector over the next 5 to 10 years. But that means making ready our ports and ensuring that we have supply chain issues that can be of huge benefit to parts of Ireland that at the moment don't have the kind of job creation potential that this sector can provide into the future.